So Nikola Jokic just won the 2021 NBA MVP. Shout out to him. He played great, and I think he definitely deserved it. And the reason I'm making this video today is because I really like Nikola Jokic's story of his journey to the NBA and the struggles he went through. And I'm going to be going over that, but first we have to take a look at Jokic's MVP season. So Jokic played all 72 games of the season, leading the Nuggets to a 47-25 record, making them the 3 seed in the Western Conference, including with no Jamal Murray for a little bit of time. Jokic has been one of the best playmakers despite being a center, and he's an above-average shooter considering he is a center. Jokic averaged 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. That's almost a triple-double as a center. And now we see centers like Embiid who just back to the basket. And there's not really any of them that can make great passes like Jokic does. Jokic is also the lowest draft pick to ever win an MVP at the 41st pick. He's also the 5th non-American player to win MVP. Hakeem, Dirk, Steve Nash, Giannis, and now him. And I think that's pretty much it. So now we're going to get on to his story. So Nikola Jokic grew up in Siberia. And when he was just a very small kid, they were going through a war, and he lived there for about a week, where he could have died in that war, but thankfully his family fled there. They would live somewhere else in Siberia. I'm not sure the full details of that, but yeah. So Jokic, as you know, grew up in Siberia. And you might think like, oh, he's not athletic, he just never played sports, but he actually did play sports. Volleyball, soccer, but his favorite sport was basketball. However, Jokic didn't really play these competitively. He mostly just played them for fun because his brothers kind of, just played, so he played too. As a teenager, Jokic was struggling with his weight. He used to eat these Siberian cheese pastries every day for breakfast. That's equivalent to like the average Canadian or American having like a donut for breakfast every day. He also used to drink 2 to 3 liters of Coke every day, which is terrible for anyone's health. Also, he had no muscle. He couldn't even do one full proper push-up. By now, you can tell that Jokic isn't like any other player where they dedicated their whole childhood for the game. With all of that terrible eating, Jokic was clinically obese, and when he started to play in a real league at already 17 years old, the coach didn't even want him to play because he thought something bad could have happened to him on the court. It's also crazy how he only started trying to make it to the league at 17 years old, where guys like LeBron and Curry were practicing since they were kids. Jokic was extremely talented on his team despite his weight. Jokic's passing was insane for a center because, a center's not supposed to be playmaking, like I said before, but his passing was insane, and he was an above-average shooting center. And Jokic was actually so obese at the time that his coach only made him play 3 practices so that he wouldn't have to have the added work. Now that's crazy, 3 practices, and he was still the best player on his team. Over time, Jokic was starting to get scouts' attention. Jokic was so popular in Siberia that one time he signed so many autographs that he got an inflammation in his hand and had to miss a whole week of games and practices. Not that he really went to practices. Jokic played 2 years in this league, and he dominated there, impressing scouts with his great passing and shooting ability for a center. After those 2 years, Jokic actually didn't want to go to the NBA right away. He, in fact, didn't even want to go to the NBA at all. He actually wanted to play in a different basketball league in Siberia. However, Jokic, despite being so good in that old league, he played terrible. He got 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, something like that, and played terrible defense. The scouts just ignored him and kind of just kicked him out, I guess. And this is kind of like a blessing in disguise for Jokic. This turned out great for him because Jokic, when he started wanting to play professional basketball, it wasn't like NBA level. It was kind of this league. So if he had to play good, he would have been not in this. He would have been in that league, and he wouldn't have been bothered going to the NBA, and we would have not been making this video. But finally, in 2014, Jokic did the sensible thing. He declared for the NBA draft. But now Jokic was still slow, not athletic, had no muscle. He was 290 pounds coming into the draft, and all those weaknesses showed. Jokic got drafted 41st overall, and this is kind of like a famous thing because there was a Taco Bell commercial airing while Jokic got drafted by the Denver Nuggets. In Siberia, the time that Jokic got drafted was 5 o'clock a.m., and Jokic was sleeping during the moment he got drafted. He woke up the next morning with a lot of notifications from family and stuff, turning out he got drafted. And he played average his first couple years in the NBA, and he slowly developed to a top 30, top 20, top 10. And this year, Nikola Jokic became the best player in the NBA. So yeah, this is a very interesting story because, like I said, it's not like, guys, wasn't really dedicating his life. And this just shows that you can turn your life around if you try and put the work in it. Instead of Jokic still eating those cheese pastries and still drinking those 2 to 3 liters of Coke every day, he tried changing his habits, and now look at him. He's not even just in the NBA. He is the best player in the NBA. But yeah, that's going to wrap up the video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of 2021. And we will see you next time.